Okay, this is Bigfoot 2. Was sitting in the living room and my brother's friend called him and he wanted to go canoeing down this river on the other side of Wilkesboro. And my brother was like, well, I don't want to go, but Stephen will go with you. So we went to this river. You go up 421, and when you get past Wilkesboro, you take a right. It takes you down to the river. And so I'm loaded up with a LL Bean canoe, and Brian, who's taking us on this canoe trip, is in this other canoe. We're going down this river, and people are coming up to me going, they're like shaking their head. They're in kayaks. And I'm going, Brian, I don't see anybody going down the river in a canoe. And there were no other canoes. And it was not, and I asked him before we got on the river, what class river was this? And it was a very dangerous river. So anyways, I had to get to the very side of the river to hit some side spots. And there were a couple little waterfalls. The river was high, I'll never forget that. And then all of a sudden, the kayak dudes kept coming by me shaking their heads. Long story short, finally I got to the far right where Brian and I we're gonna stay for the night, which I about missed. So we pull the canoes up and the campsite. It's one of the only campsites on this river that are by the National Forest where you can camp. The other parts are people have farms and everything. So we get canoes up, campsite, get camping, we cook out, cook dinner and everything, and then Brian decides he's gonna pull out his gun with the laser beam on it. And he's flashing it this way and flashing it that way. And I'm going, Brian, there's farm people that own farms out here, dude. If they wanted to come up on you, they could come up on you and just shoot you real quick. Put your gun up. It's time to go to bed. So he's still out there, whatever, I don't know. Finally he comes back, goes to bed. Alright, so it's real late in the evening. All of a sudden I start getting this something pushing up against me. Because the tent, we didn't pitch it excuse me, I didn't pitch. Well, I helped Brian pitch the tent, but we needed to pitch the tent up closer. I even said to him, well, we need to be closer to the campfire, which we didn't. It was more down towards the river. Some huge Bigfoot or Sasquatch or whatever decides to sleep outside the tent. If you're facing the opening of the tent was the opening of the tent was towards the forest, and the back was towards the river. I was on the right hand side. Was sleeping next to me, pushing up next to me. I was pushing up next to it. It was raining real hard. The river was coming up. Finally, when the river started coming up into our tent, or just about, this huge creature, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, what have you, with the size of a catcher's mitt, starts pushing me from the outside of the tent. And I wake up and I go, and I realize that water's coming in the tent. I go, Brian, get up. Brian, get up. We gotta pull the tent up. The water's coming out from the river. So we get out of the tent. And I'm talking like real quick. I'm pulling stakes out of the tent and everything. I pulled the tent up, and I don't know how quick. Way up to the campfire area. And the canoes are there, and I'm looking at the water, and the water is all glassy, but the rest of the river is flowing real fast, and the canoes were about to float away, and I grabbed both the canoes and pulled them up and go, Brian, grab the canoes. And to this day, the only thing I could think was maybe Sasquatch was underneath the water there, and he was like holding the canoes. Because if we would have lost the canoes, there's no way we would have made it back. Or we would have been stranded in the woods there. And so then I pulled the canoes up and everything, and we waited for at least a good 45 minutes to an hour, because the water was rushing so fast. And I said, no, Brian, we're not leaving yet. We're going to wait, let the river slow down. Which we did. And then we went on down, and of course the sun had come out, and the river had calmed down. And when we got to the end, and there were people there, there was a dude waiting for us. He was saying how lucky we were that people had gone down this river, not made it out, and it's crazy. But that's Bigfoot too. He was sleeping outside the tent, and to this day, I believe saved our lives. And Ryan was just crazy with his gun and everything. Okay.